All right, the reverse RMD retirement fund with a retirement plan with a Wellington fund. We're going to spreadsheet it now. I think a lot of people didn't quite get what I was trying to say on the whiteboard or even in my verbal vomit. So I want to show you how the spreadsheet works. So once you get a visual, I think it'll make sense. Always remember, my friends, when you're taking a percentage of the portfolio out, you will never run out of money. It's impossible to run out of money unless that percentage is 100%. If you're taking anything less than 100%, you will never run out of money. So if we're using $100,000 and we're taking 5%, that's $5,000. The next year we'll say there's no growth on the portfolio. We're taking, so it's worth $95,000. We had $100,000 in, we took $5,000 out, that's 5%. The next year we have $95,000. We take $5,000 out of 95, that's what, $4,800, something like that. You will never run out of money because you're always taking a percent. A defined percentage. The only way you can run out of money is if you have 100%. So you will always be successful in a Monte Carlo if you're just taking a percentage. You literally never run out of money. But that doesn't, who cares? I mean, my goodness, you could have $100 and you're taking 99% out, you have $99. Well, you can go buy a carton of smokes now. I don't even know if you can do that anymore. That's it. You can't buy food. So if you're taking a percentage out on an annual basis, you are guaranteed never run out of money. If you take a starting point at a percentage and adjust that amount each and every year with inflation, well, you've already locked into the percentage, but now it's no longer a percentage. Now it's 5% the initial year, then whatever the inflation rate is, then whatever the inflation rate is, and whatever the inflation rate. You will never, you're essentially, you could run out of money there because you aren't taking an annual percentage base, you're taking a base based on inflation. So let's dive into this. That makes sense when I show what I'm talking about. All right, so let's go into this. All right, here's the spreadsheet. So we're going to start 1930, reverse RMDs. We're taking 12% a year. The next year will be 20 basis points less, 20 basis points less, 11.6. And even when we get down to 1959 after 30 years, we're taking 6.2% of the portfolio. 12%, 11.8, 11.6, 11.4, so on. We also have a 5% adjusted for inflation that we're going to compare the two. I hope that makes sense. So let's go into this. Start with 100,000 in Wellington. The initial year, 1930, is down 21%. So we were left with 78,790. We took 12% from that 78,790, which is $9,455 from the portfolio we withdrew, which left us with $69,335. Hope that makes sense. Now, if we did a 5% adjusted with inflation, well, inflation was, we had a deflation of 2.24%. We were in deflation of 2.24. So that $5,000 adjusted with inflation, we only had to take $4,833 out. So the difference between the amount we took out that we did and the amount we would have if we used the 5% adjusted with inflation was $4,572. So we took out $4,572 more in the first year than if we just would have done a 5% adjusted for inflation. All right, so after year one, we're left with $69,000. Wellington's down 26%, which means we have $51,000 left in our portfolio for which we have to take 11.8% out. That's $6,019. That's a significant decline from what it was before, $9,455. And when we take that distribution out, we're left with $44,991. We had a 9% deflation that year, so $4,800 that we took out after we started with a 5% rule, adjust with inflation. Now we're only taking $4,445 out, which meant this time we took $6,000 for our rule. For the 5% rule, we took $4,400, so it's a $1,500 difference. Those two combined now, the first 2 years, we've taken $6,146 more from the portfolio, all right, than we would have if we had not taken that. I hope that makes sense. So we're using a 5% rule is what we would have been doing here. And we're literally just saying we're taking 5% from, that's the amount we're taking out. I hope that makes sense. Now, there's more going on to this, but I just wanted to show you what the 5% rule would look like relative to inflation. All right, it's because our inflation number is what matters. We're not taking how can I say this? Now, let's just keep going. I hope it'll make sense. But this is how much we needed to take from the Wellington, 5% a year adjusted with inflation. because it matters not what the portfolio did. It matters not. When you're doing a fixed rate, we're fixing it at 5%, adjusting it each and every year with inflation. It matters not what the portfolio is doing. It's saying this is the amount of money we need from the portfolio each and every year, 5% adjusted with inflation. And what you'll see is it wasn't until 1943 that 5% a year adjusted with inflation became above 5,000 again. Right? So it took us 13 years before we got above the $5,000 threshold. It's nuts. That's because that's what deflation in full force right there. All right, so now what happens is, as you can tell, we're taking 4,500 more in my portfolio, the reverse RMD. That first year, 1,500 the second year, 1,100 the third year, 900 the fourth year, 1,000 the fifth year, 1,800 the sixth year, 2,600 the seventh year, and now the other portfolio, the 4,000 adjusted with inflation, is beginning to be a little bit more. The 5% a year adjusted with inflation is beginning to be a little bit more than the other rule I had, because the other rule now, we only have 35,000 left in the portfolio. But it took 7 years before we started making more money in the 5% rule, pulling it out, than it did in the other portfolio. So in 1937, we were down to $32,000. Look at that. And so you can tell we took 396 less out of the portfolio of the reverse RMD than we did in the 5% adjusted with inflation. So we still took out 13,441 more over the course of these previous 7 to 8 years now. All right, so now we go down to, it took us until 1947 before the 5% rule actually gave us more income than it did in the reverse RMDs. Now, we're only taking 2,800 here because we only have 33,000 left in the portfolio. You'll see is we took 2,845 out in 1947 in the reverse RMD. In this case, we took 6,520 in the 5% rule, which is a difference of $3,675. Well, that's great. We took more out in 1947 by a factor of basically double than what we took in the reverse RMD. The problem with that, of course, is now we're 17 years into retirement. So if you're retired at 60, you're going to live until you're 90. Now you're at age 77 years old. You only got 13 years left. So, I mean, literally, you took in the first 7 years, if you did the reverse RMDs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you took almost $14,000 out more in the reverse RMD than you did in the other portfolio, which is the prime time of your retirement. And so what happens here, as we keep going down, you'll see, we'll just do this. We'll do that right there. We'll just make this, show you how much difference it is with the 5%, because we did run out of money here. So ultimately, we took 60,000 more with the 5% rule than adjusted with inflation than we did with the reverse RMDs. But look at this. Reverse RMD, we're back to $47,000 in the portfolio. We took 6.2%. So we're sitting on $2,900. Essentially, we never got below 25 was the lowest we ever had. I mean, that's not so bad. I mean, again, the whole point is we start with a lot. We take less out each and every year. So we only took $60,000 more out on the 5% adjusted for inflation than we did on the 12%, the reverse RMDs, over the course of time. Now, how much the portfolio had left in it? Well, believe it or not, the 5%, we ran out of money right here in 1959 in the 5%. We had no more money left. None. It was gone. Yet we still had $44,533 in the reverse RMD. And so what happens is they took 60,000 out more. Yeah, they did, but we still have $44,000 left in the portfolio. So we actually still have $16,000. That's it. That's the difference between the two. 16,000, where the other portfolio, the 5% adjusted with inflation, ran out of money. It did provide us 16,000 more of income, but it provided us that well later into our retirement. It doesn't make sense. All right, so now let's do the point one, because I think the point one was the most efficient that I could come up with. All right, so what we'll see here is it took us until 1945 for the 5% with adjusted for inflation to overcome the amount of money we took more than the 10% reverse RMDs. And if we go down to 5% adjusted for inflation, we spent $57,000 more from the 5% rule adjusted for inflation. But again, we ran out of money. We got no more money. But in the 10% one, we have $85,000 left. So the 10% reverse RMD relative to the 5%, the 10% not only gave us more income for the front part of retirement. I mean, look at this. We got 8,000. We had 8,000 more we spent 8,000 more by 7 years into retirement. 8 years in retirement, we spent 8,000 more. So we spent an extra 1,000 a year with a 10% reverse RMD than we did with a 5% rule adjusted for inflation in the first 10 years of retirement. Now, again, at the end of, see, look, the latter part of retirement. All right, when you're freaking 20 years in retirement, you're spending 3,800 more than the 5% rule adjusted for inflation, but you're 80 years old. Are you enjoying as much you would have when you're 60, 70? No. So you spent more, I get that, by 57,000, but the 10%, you had the 85,000 still in your portfolio. So when you factor in these, we still have almost 30,000 more in total assets in the 10% reverse RMD. All right, so let's see if we just said instead of 5,000, let's do that 4,000. Everyone's like, the 4% rule. No, the 4% rule did last. It lasted for sure. All right, so let's see, 5,000. Yeah, what was 5,000? 4,800? Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. All right, good. So let's do 4%. All right, so now it's 4%. We're going to adjust it for inflation. Look, we got 15,936 more we spent under the 10% RMD than we would have the 4% rule by the time 10 years have gone. It took us until when we were 22 years in retirement before we actually spent more money in the 4% rule than we did with the 10% adjusted for RMD. It's crazy. And with the 10%, we still have 85,000 bucks. Let's see. Yeah, that's right, because we still have $85,000. So we took out 22,000. I don't know if I have my numbers here. How much do we have left in 4% in 1930? Hold on just a second. We had 200, 1930. No, hold on a second. Let me make sure that, yeah, 1930. 4% rule, we had, well, we can find out. I think we had 230,000 in I can't tell it's 1930. Hold on just a second. Oh, come on, buddy. Let's see. You coming in? Let's go, I can't tell this. I think that's 1930. Looks like the 4% we had 150. Let's just look. All right, so remember, the 4% rule, we took 22,000 more from the portfolio than we did by the 10% RMD, reverse RMD rule. Let's see how much was left in the portfolio with the 4% rule. No, sirree, Bob. Bobber? Did I miss 4%? I must have missed it. Hold on a second. Let's bear with me here just a second. Right there. All right, so 4%. We can go up here. Right there. We had 1959. 150,000. Yep. So I got that here. Yep, 150,000. Okay, cool. So we took, no, that's not left. We got, how much is left? That's how much we took out. 159,000. How much do we have left? I can't tell. That's 1930. That's not 1930. Nah, I can't tell. That's not, I don't know. Anyway, so 4% rule is 1930. Right there. End year, 74,000. Right there. Yeah, 170,000 bucks. That's what we got. 150,000 bucks. That's what we got left. Okay. There we go. So we have 150,000 in the 4% on 1930. Yep, 1930, 1959, 30 years. 150,000 left. All right. We took 22,000 more of income. All right. So we take 85,000 right here is what we have left. Minus, we have 150,000 left in the 4%, minus 85,000 plus the 22. So the 4% rule gave us 87,000 more of a liquid assets and income that we took out. So the 4% rule, we did have 87,000 more to show for it when we died. But the problem is that's 87,000 we did not spend during our retirement. Certainly we didn't spend during the front end of retirement. Look at this again. By 10 years, we had spent 16,000 more on the 10% reverse RMD than we did in the 4% rule. And that's the fun part of your retirement. Well, if we do 0.12. Here we spent 21,000 in 10 years. I mean, that's 2,000 a year more with the 12% reverse RMDs. Now, if we go down here, We only have 44,000 left in the reverse RMD. We spent 25,000 more in the 4%. But when all said and done, we have more expenditures to show for it in the first 15 years. In fact, what was go to 1944? We spent in the first 15 years 18,000 more in the 12% reverse RMD than we did in the 4% rule. I mean, that's real money. Now, people say, well, could 3,800 be enough? I mean, the 4%, I don't know. The 4% rule, we only had 4,200. Is that big of a difference? Is that the difference between making or breaking you? 3,800 versus 42? I doubt it. Well, could 2,500 be enough right here, 1952, relative to the 4% rule of 6198? Yeah, probably not. That's right there. Probably not. I mean, that the latter part of your retirement, if 6198 because inflation was much more than 2785 for sure. But the thing with the 4% rule, that you're just not going to enjoy it, man. You're not. There's not going to be any money there to enjoy. Yeah, you might have the money that you could theoretically buy more things, but you wasted your first 10 to 15 years and you still didn't run out of money. You're still taking 2,500, 3,000, 2,900, 2,500. I mean, that's a 12%. If we go back to 0.10, this is why I think 0.10 is probably the most efficient. We go down here, where we sit right here, 6198. We're still taking 3327. So it's a little bit more. It's about half what we're taking out with a 4% rule. But we're 22 years into retirement. A good amount of us aren't going to live 22 years into retirement, and we still have 56,000 in the portfolio. So if we need to, sell that, a portion of that to revisit, and I didn't want to do it. We could easily redo this again and say, okay, every 56,000 in that portfolio for the next 5 years, we're going to take 5,000 a year out, or I guess 10 years, we're going to take 5,000 a year out and actually be done with it. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, does that make sense? So if you got years like, look, 3327 isn't going to be enough. I need to be closer to 6,100, so I'm going to take 5,000 a year of the portfolio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 40,000. I'm going to take 10,000. No, I'm going to take 8,000 a year out of the portfolio. I will have no money left by 30 years, but I can certainly maximize my income. There's just so many things you can do with the reverse RMDs. It's crazy. And don't forget, this is the worst case scenario, 1930s. If we go to 1931, I mean, look at this, 1931, it just gets, here's 5%. It just gets better and better and better because not only do you not run out of money, but you have 130,000, or is it, oops. Yeah, 130 right there. Is that 1939, 1930? Right there, you still have 130,000 to your name right there. So you took out on average $600 more with the 5% rule on average over the course of each and every year, but you still have 130,000 in that's a 0.10 reverse RMD, and you still were taking pretty close. I mean, you took 8,400 out in 1959. That's 28 years in retirement, and under the 0.1 you took out 5,200. I mean, that's still within spitting distance. And if we do the 4% rule, that's a 5%. If we do the 4%, watch this. I mean, you're talking, you took only the 4%, you only took $1,400 out more. And yet you're leaving $350,000. It's just, oh man, I hope that makes sense. So the issue is because, in this case, because the markets got killed, you're taking less out of a declining portfolio because you're starting with the amount, and the back end is going to mean you have less money to spend. But that's when the markets are getting killed. What if you just had 2 years cash and you didn't have a markets getting killed because you did the barbell? And I'm not going to do that because then I'll never write my book. But man, the reverse RMDs are without question the way to go, in my opinion. Love to hear your comments. All right, thanks now.